Wow.
Hello, hello, hello. We are here for episode 4 of Eat This, Drink That with out of work TV host Ali Khan
That is the truth.
Wine and beverage expert Steve Greer, and I'm the producer Ryan Crosby, and we are here. Ali, what is your Eat This for today?
I'm going to use visuals. This just came to me. Gentlemen, this is a Lego.
Okay.
It's a Lego.
A Dia de los Muertos Lego?
Yeah, I know. It's like a skeleton. There's a whole... Trust me, when you buy Legos now, you're buying an animated series, and it's never just like Construction Man. It's like Ninjago, and there's a whole 7 seasons.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. It's a Lego, okay? It's a Lego. It's what it is. You can go to the toy store, and next to Lego will be the generic version. And it's like, why? Why do you have? Never buy it. Never buy it. They don't fit. They don't stay together. Your kid gets frustrated. There is only one Lego, okay? Food. There is a genre of food, not even a genre, but appreciation of food that uses the word subtle. Why? Why is there subtle food? It just is pointless to me. I don't care. And the best way I can really equate this is with music. Now, this is going to sound a little harsh, but, you could have, like, One Direction pop song. The hit. Plays on the radio. You hear it. It's catchy. Does its job. Or you could, like, get into, like, the Beatles' White Album. Right? A lot of track. Amazing album. Everybody loves it. It changed the game. It's amazing.
Right.
How many times do you listen to the track number 9? And that's how I feel about, frankly, a lot of food. I made a dish the other day, and I made this soup that was a creamy potato soup. It had sauteed fennel and onion, Yukon Gold potatoes, chicken stock. And, I made it, like tasty, healthy, generally speaking. But it just didn't have oomph and wow, I gotta have this, It was just like kind of polite.
Yeah.
It was mild-mannered. And this struck me as like, it's subtle. Just came out of me. Oh, some subtle flavor here. Forget that. Why? I don't care. And I think there is so much food on the higher end of the expensive stuff that really has to come with the whole package of a guy like Ryan Crosby to explain to me the real importance of the White Album, right? Beyond the couple songs that I automatically get that I didn't need an expert to explain. I don't need an expert to explain why something tastes good. I should know it automatically. And that's why I'm saying subtle food is garbage. Let the musicians be that,
But sushi would automatically qualify as subtle food, right?
Well, here's the thing, though, isn't it? Let's get into the real hits of sushi. And I'm a nigiri guy, I like the fish and rice. Yo, let's be honest. Seared albacore, yellowtail, tuna belly, salmon. That is what a lot of people are freaking for when they're getting their nigiri. And I appreciate having the halibut, right? But if I just got halibut, I would sad face. Pete the Clown sad face on my face. And I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Even like the best nigiri joints that are very like the Nozawa stuff, it's that blue crab hand roll. That's a mayonnaise and crab. It's crab salad in a little burrito, okay? You get it. It's flavorful. You know what I mean? It's quite obvious. I think it's important that you slow it down and, it's like why Thai food is Thai food, Japanese food is Japanese food, and sushi is sushi, and pad thai is pad thai. There are some limits here, but at the same time, just the subtle players, like, I don't know. I just don't get it. Like, and when a whole meal is just stuck in that zone, that's not good.
No, you still have to have flavor. Potato soup is going to be, I mean, unless you add pork fat, it's going to be pretty subtle and boring.
Now,
I
what
don't know.
about like?
I haven't really had a potato soup where I remember going, holy crap, that was amazing. I got to say, we all have our favorite meals. I don't know. I probably have 5. I could catalog 6 that I could remember for the rest of my life. One of those was at a fine dining restaurant. It was a wine dinner. It was, I think, 5 courses. I don't remember any of the other courses, but I remember this consomme, fish consomme, that was the most delicate, flavorful, insane dish. It's in the top 3 of the dishes I've ever had. It was that good. It was paired with a California Viognier
A
and
strawberry milkshake beer.
yes, and it was
Viognier is nice.
stunning, and it was delicate, but it still had tons of flavor. It was a perfect consomme. I've never forgotten that. That is at least 17 years ago when I had that dish.
And so standalone, or do you think that maybe the 4 dishes leading up to it was made it that good?
No,
also?
I don't remember any of the other dishes. I remember that one though.
Right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the exact same thing as you did, Crosby. I literally was like, is it because of the other things? But when he said top 3 of all time, and because consomme is just broth, right? I mean, essentially.
But to get the depth of flavor that this had, I mean,
wow,
they had to cook this for like a whole day.
Right.
It's kind of like when you eat a ramen at a real ramen place, and the depth, the richness of that broth, and the broth is almost clear, but it has so much flavor in it.
Would ramen be a type of thing where they'd be working sort of off of like an eternal starter kit? You know what I mean? Like you know how people
do.
They do.
I think they do go through. There's what's the Sujita out on Little Sawtell and
Yeah.
I call it Little Tokyo, even though Little Tokyo was downtown. Right. It's still another Little Tokyo.
I think they call it like Japantown. But yeah. In LA, in Los Angeles.
Judah has this vat of I'm going to call it pork fat that is just constant. It's on the flame 24 hours, 7 days a week. It never, ever, they don't cool it down. It just stays cooking. They add to it. The depth, the flavor, and that's not a clear broth, by the way. That is full ramen fat.
Yeah.
I just want to say, ramen is the thing I got into the most recently of all foods, right? Yo, that stuff is... I never understood it or got it until I had that one bowl that was like milk. It's milk, you know? And my kid is a freak for it. That's like his favorite food.
Do you like the mushroom side of it, Ali? Do you like the mushroomy stuff?
You know what's funny? I'm a savory guy, so I'm like low. I mean, and my God, if especially in COVID where you like are ordering off talk and you're like, do you want extra? I'm like jacking, like turning it into a $30 bowl, like to extra pork belly, like just no shame, you know, just like pure cholesterol. It's magical. It's so good. It's just crazy.
So how could you have improved that potato soup?
Well, you know, it's funny because part of it is just like, I think you just said, like pork fat. I put some bacon on it. Bacon makes it taste good. Bacon is the most overused, gratuitous, like dumb food porn thing. Like, oh, here's a ton of bacon on it. But it's like, put some bacon up in there. You know what I mean? There's a ton of things. So, I mean, and it is mashed with bacon. To your point, maybe like slices of Spanish chorizo. You know, something that's just like intense in flavor.
Right.
You know, and then because it's like kind of like it's almost like a relief. It's almost like kind of like it's like a rich carby palate cleanser almost. So I would almost think like some kind of like chorizo in the soup itself. Also, I love chorizo.
I wonder how this would apply to. What are your guys' thoughts on? Have you ever had a friend, or maybe you do this yourself, that would bring hot sauce to restaurants with, like carry hot sauce with them? Because
No way.
you
Yes.
know, you knew
Yes.
someone that did that.
I mean, me,
You have.
but I matured a bit. But it started in college, and I became a freak for Tabasco sauce.
Tabasco.
I love
Yeah.
Tabasco sauce.
Because I feel like
years
that's a
later-
common answer. Tabasco. People, once you get hooked on that thing, you start wanting it with every meal, sort of thing.
Yeah. I grew up on Tabasco, so that's the hot sauce. I get the large Tabasco once a month. I go through it pretty quick too. I put it on breakfast, I put it on lunch, I put it on subs, I put it on everything.
So, Ali, were you going to like Kookaroo and pouring Tabasco on the?
Well, yeah, I mean, Cooper needed it. It's so funny. That is so, like that late night. It's funny. You're old enough now where you kind of can really remember essentially these food trends, right? So it's the 90s. Everyone knows red meat, leads to coronary artery disease. So it's like, well, let's eat chicken. Chicken. Kookaroo. Here's some chicken. It's not fried. And lots of sides. Here's California Chicken Cafe, rotisserie chicken, lots of sides. And it was like essentially fast food without operating at the lowest common denominator of ingredient versus price, right? It was very LA. It's like fast and healthy, right? Like, it's healthy, but I gotta run. I gotta go. I got a 2:00. I gotta run. Love you, Dave. But the thing is, those places were bland. Like it's like chicken needs sauce. Sauce oftentimes carries with it a fair amount of calorie. The perfect exception, almost all versions, salsa. And when I say salsa, I do mean how we think of it as like salsa being the Mexican sauce. Salsa is amazing, isn't it? Like it has it's like healthy sauce. You can't say that about most sauce. Even ketchup carries sugar. Like you gotta. Not that I'm dunking stuff in ketchup, right? But salsa, money.
That's why I was curious
jalapeno
about
slices. Jalapeno slices with pineapple and lime juice.
Ooh.
Is fresh pineapple, not syrup pineapple, is amazing. You can put that on anything, and it's really simple. Just de-seed the, get rid of the ribs and the seed so the jalapeno doesn't crush you.
I need that. I like.
And then fresh pineapple, and then lime juice, and you're gone.
I've actually been making pineapple salsa at the house like the last couple weeks. So it's crazy you said that because we've been looking for it at the store and they don't have it. Right. And we must have gotten it at some other grocery store that I think we might have used to get it at Sprouts, and now there's no Sprouts anywhere. So I've been making it. I just get the pineapples and then add lime juice and add something spicy, something to get it hot, and it is it's so good.
Really? I am. Yeah. This is fascinating.
Yeah, pineapple salsa, a little side thing from Steve and I here. Pineapple.
So I'm curious.
I mean, chicken, pork, whatever.
So I'm curious. Steve said no seeds. Crosby, I want to know how hot can you take it? How hot do you take it? How spicy for you?
I can do a jalapeno. I can go pretty far, but there's definitely a limit though. You know what I mean? Like you have those friends that want to sweat and they want to burn, and that's too far. You know what I mean? But I like the heat. I like to ratchet it up. Let's get the heat going. Yeah.
I like white boy saucy or white boy hot. That's pretty much my level. Tabasco is about as hot as I can really do, and I don't really think Tabasco's that hot. But I'm definitely white boy heat. It's pretty low.
There is a place. I think it's so funny how that term has essentially been abused because I do like spicy food. I like to add, use spices and use the ribs and all that stuff. But at the same time, like hot ones level or those like bottles of like just insane potency is that's to me like that's like extra. It's like chemicals. It's just not naturally occurring heat,
Yeah.
But I do enjoy like when it's warranted. Like I don't want to like take like something like tuna belly and then cover it in some like gumball. Like
No.
that's ruining it. But like if we're having like Thai curry, and I could be like, uh-oh, I got one for you. So I like to think of myself as someone who's like, okay, if it's meant to be spicy, bring it on. Bring it on. And for years, tail end of college on, I was like, I would get the crazy hot sauce, and I would just super get into the spicy stuff. And literally, by the time I was 24, I remember I had like my Lanta at my bed, and my buddy came over and he goes, dude, you drink like a fish and eat insane spicy barbecue when you have my Lanta on your nightstand. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to slow it down. I don't like going to the bathroom that much. Cut to years later, I'm in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We were shooting Cheap Eats, and we went to this Thai restaurant. And it was me and like this crew, my film crew, and we had just started like the second season, so we knew we were in it for the next 3 months together. We were all kind of like getting to know each other, whatever. And me and this dude from Brooklyn, who's like kind of Jamaican, like he was born there but grew up in Brooklyn. We were at this Thai place, and I was like, yeah, let's get Thai food, bring it on. And they're like, okay, and like honestly, like. A guy like Crosby comes up. He goes, yeah, so we have 5 spice levels. And I'm like, okay, Junior, what do you got? Out of a 5, I'll take the 4. And he goes, I like spicy. I'll take 5. And everyone's like, yeah, 1, 3. Like, I'm not trying to go that route.
Right.
And, it wasn't like your name's going to be on the wall. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was just like, it's spicy.
There's no need to take this challenge.
Yeah, the cameras are not on. You know what I mean? I was just like, but I like, frankly, I had a chip on my shoulder. I lived in LA, lived in Thai town. I'm in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Harrison Ford is on the wall at this restaurant. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way.
There's no way.
There's no way, right? We get the soup, just the tampagal, the classic coconut soup. I am drenched and in total pain. I could not eat my entree. The other guy is just like, oh my God, dude. Everyone's looking at us like, you guys are such idiots. I remember I woke up at 3 a.m, having to go to the bathroom. It was literally fire, right? The next day, I walked in and I was like, I'm so not well. And I have to shoot the show. And like this guy, Nick's just like, oh my God, why do we do that? And everyone's like, you're an idiot.
Wow.
I got my ass handed to me.
In Jackson Hole.
Yeah. And the funny thing was is apparently this restaurant, and I pitched this for like best thing I've rated for insanely spicy dish. And it was good food too. These ladies are all literally from Thailand, and they open the restaurant during ski season, and then they go back to Thailand every summer. They make their money, and then they're just like peace out. And it's no joke. So yeah, there are limits. I mean, like I said, I like spicy. I like to think I can handle spice, and I like to use spice. But there are some, even in an authentic setting, there are levels where I'm like, oh God, no. I tapped out. I will tap out. I will tap out. I'll try, but I'll tap out.
So do you apply the same philosophy of intense flavor when you're drinking wine? Is that the path you go down when you're having wine?
I really want to. I mean, I know things can also get old too. So that's the problem with me, right? That's also my crutch, if you will, is like, I know like a ribeye steak is going to be like boom satisfying, and then you have it all the time, and then it actually becomes less satisfying.
Right.
It's funny, right? You have to take a risk of having something that doesn't taste good, disappointing, not as good as I thought it was going to be, just to put yourself in the position of, I can't believe I'm trying this for the first time. That is almost the whole metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it's what you eat or what you drink. Do you want to play it safe, or do you want to run the risk of, I blew my money on something I wish, I never should have. And that's why I drink strawberry milkshake beers.
So you probably don't like more subtle wines. So maybe Gamay or Austrian reds or obscure whites, like Vermentino or you probably don't like the Acertico from Greece is more, I don't know, I don't want to call it neutral, but
Neutral. Sweden.
these aren't powerful flavored. These aren't New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, where you can smell it.
This is what's funny. Bourbon, bring the heat. Beer, bring the hops. Wine is this funny place where, and obviously I think we talked about this in a previous episode or whatever. For some reason, you can really enjoy branching off. It's like tangential and it's kind of cool. Like we brought up a wine, and I remember Crosby. You're like, "Oh, I like that." Viognier.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
right.
Viognier.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Viognier.
Viognier.
Yeah. Viognier. Right. Minerally crisp. Like I actually love. I think French whites are my jam, and also Spanish whites as well. But you would think by way I'm talking, I want that buttery Chardonnay, which like it's kind of like a cigar. Like it's cool, but like I can.
You guys both went out on me.
We lost
You're back
a little bit.
You should also try. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, Ali, maybe you were having I was gonna say maybe Ali, you were having these whites that are a little more subtle with your bold entrees, perhaps. Maybe that's where you get a taste for it.
It's funny. I think that's what's really cool about white wine is like it's like bringing Crosby into the meat. It's like finding out how important a drummer is. You know what I mean? Like you don't need the drum solo to know how important it is, right?
Right.
And I think that's where wine is.
Correct.
And also like I do enjoy the long haul elements of certain things. Like I can drink quote a lot of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's it's weird. It's like how you like beers for day drinking. That's how I generally feel about white wine. It's like, oh yeah, I could sip this all day. That's what I'm looking for. So how about that?
Okay. Weird. And the subtlety of a Provence Rosé. Provence Rosé isn't smack you in your face flavor. It's very mellow. It's pale. It's crisp. It's refreshing. Melon. It's not the intensity of a big buttery California Napa Chardonnay. That to me is an intense.
Yeah. And it's funny. The rosés that are more, I guess, I don't know if you call it flavor forward, fruit forward, maybe. I think is gross. Like when you have, I'm almost, when I go to the store, I literally am like, I'm looking for the refreshing feel of iced tea. Of an iced tea heavy Arnold Palmer. That's what I'm looking for in a rosé. And they're always like Provence, super pale, barely pink. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can see right through the bottle. Well, because it's glass, it's like a lot of wine. But yes, that's what I'm into. That's what gets me to where I need to go.
Summer's here, so I mean it's time to start buying Gruner Veltliner from Austria. Austrian Gemeister Satz, the field blend white that they make out of all
you have to say that again. Did you catch that? What did you just say?
I have one. Hold on, I got one.
You got to be kidding me. Seriously?
Yeah, I got one. Hold on.
You don't see me pulling Thai chilies.
So
maybe I'll do that next
Alpine, any kind of Alpine white, so Alto Adige, Austria, even coming around and going into Slovenia and the upper portion of Italy. So Vina, so these are the wines of Vienna. So these are the hillside wineries above the town of Vienna. And it's called Gemista.
It's Wiener.
Satz. And I love this wine. You don't see that many. So there's not that many that get imported. It's only 12.5, and it's basically everything that's in the vineyard. So it could be Sauvignon Blanc, it could be Welsh Riesling, could be Riesling, Gruner Veltliner, Pinot Blanc. They harvest it all into the same buckets. They put it all into the same vat, and they co-ferment it. So you're not blending different fermentations from all these different grapes. It literally is a guy running through the vineyards, throws all the grapes into one big basket and ferments.
Whoa.
And it's crisp, it's mineral, it's higher acidity, and you can sit on a Saturday afternoon and just day drink.
And when I think about those wines, I think about like something out of a Hemingway book, and there's shellfish, and there's a beach,
yes,
and there's just cold wine like that. That is it's weird because it's funny because living in Texas, it's so hot. When it gets hot here, it's really hard to get in the mood for red wine. And now I'm starting to think, especially lately, how much I'm going to be embracing more rosés and white wines. That's gold. Those are goals for me to like really. I'm just going to be pushing that out there. Is like why my white wine.
And you can still get subtlety from the Chardonnay grape. You can go to Chablis. You can go to the Maconnais. You don't have to go to Burgundy and spend a lot of money. You can get a Pouilly-Fuissé or a Macon and it's a Chardonnay that's more subtle and more elegant instead of a big buttery oak bomb.
So you literally brought up a couple of grapes, and this is a winemaker that I'm just aware of because big distribution. You see it at the supermarket. My dad, who's a big wine guy, would put this bottle on the table. Looking back, it looks a little gaudy. It looks like kind of like new money, a little tacky. But Louis Jadot. What's your take on Louis Jadot?
It's just, that's a big negociant. That's, how the Burgundy world is built. It's built on negociants because everything is passed down. One guy might own one row of vines. By the time his great-great-grandfather's field of vines passed down to all the ancestors, this one guy owns, one row of 10 vines. He doesn't have that much grapes. He's going to sell it off. The negociant model, so that just means a big house is running around and buys grapes from all the different vineyard sources and then bottles all the different communes. And Jadot has to be one of the biggest. Maybe, I don't know, Albert Bichot. There might be some other ones who are bigger. Louis Jadot is definitely the most recognized. And Joseph Druhan is another one, which you probably have seen. Everywhere.
Not really.
These are two of the bigger negociants of Burgundy.
So when you say negociant, it's like he's just gonna go out on a limb. It's a negotiator who just goes, "Listen, give me your grapes and I'll."
Basically, he just runs around and he buys everybody's grapes and he makes wine. He's the guy that's buying the grapes, bottling, or he buys juice from somebody who made it. But mostly they're buying grapes. They're making wines from all over Burgundy, and they sell it. I can't even imagine how many labels Jadot has, but I'm going to guess somewhere around 60 and up different wine labels.
Wow.
There's nothing wrong with them. I mean, if you're going to go spend the money in Burgundy, this is the problem with Burgundy. Burgundy is very expensive. There's not much of it. So if you really want to try a Burgundy and not spend a lot, it's better to go with a reputable negociant like Jadot.
There's something about, I don't know, like Crosby, how do you feel? I mean, do you drink wine? Are you into this stuff? What's your poison?
I have been. I've had a very calm 2 years with the alcohol. So, but before then was definitely an expert, and definitely have done plenty of wine excursions. I did a wine excursion in South Africa. Did one in Sonoma and Napa, numerous times. Russian River Valley. So, totally into it. I love it. And I was going to say what was interesting I thought about earlier, and I'm glad I remembered, is that if you have a good Chardonnay, like that's a fantastic white wine, but they're so hard to like come across. It's like this weird thing, like how like most, like 99% of pizzas are like pretty good. It's almost like the opposite for Chardonnays. It's like 99% of them are just god awful, but then when you have a really good Chardonnay, it's like mind-blowing how good it is, at least in my experience. And
I think there's like cheap comes off very obvious in Chardonnay. You know, it's like, it's just like, the supermarket lays it out, top shelf, literally top shelf bottom. And that, you've seen it. Like, you go to like just a cheap wedding.
There's a couple of those brands too that are just omnipotent, everywhere. It's like, I don't know, Kendall Jackson or, just some of those kind of, and it's like Chardonnay,
KJ. Yeah. It's funny. You bring up what I was actually tiptoeing around about Louis Chateau, right? Is this too obvious? Is this too easy? Is this tacky? Right. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like with wine, and this is the weird thing about it, when you're just a guy trying to figure it out, trying to get something good, and it's so complex, and it's just hard to, like, keep track of all this stuff, is like, I was literally going to a restaurant tonight, and there was a place that had a very reasonable corkage, and I was like, oh, let's bring some wine. And then I was like, okay, well, part of why I want to do this is to, like, not have to buy off their list, which is obviously marked up when I could get something at the store that's as good or better or whatever. But then you're like, well, how much do you have to spend? How does it look if you show up with a wine that's like, oh, I've seen that around? You know what I mean? Right. And the shame. Okay, that's the thing. Wine shaming. Let's talk about wine shaming. Please, I know. I bet you've gone to a wedding and you could have just wine shamed the father-in-law. Like, yeah, you really.
I got a better story. So it's wine shaming, but on the opposite end of the spectrum. And then I'll come back to your question about Jadot and how you handle
the look from the waiter.
Yeah, what you're wanting in wine, because there's so many options. You don't really just have to go with the safe option in wine, because there's too many wine labels for you to choose from. So I'll go back to that. But I have the opposite end of the spectrum is we are at I will not name the restaurant because it will not look good on them. It's a very important restaurant in LA. We finally got reservations. It was me and two of my close friends. They just got off work. We went to the restaurant. It was like a 9 p.m. reservation too on a Saturday night. I never go to nice restaurants on a Friday or a Saturday. I'd rather go to a nice restaurant at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday when all the staff is refreshed and happy and not angry. And
that's good advice.
Yeah, everything is like on point.
We got to put that on Twitter. Seriously, it's so true. Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah,
it's like a club. It's like
we went on a Saturday night at 9:30 something. It was the last seating. And, it took a while for the server or the som. So they have a som on staff. I think they had two that were working the floor that night. I went through the list. My friends had just closed. They have a really nice store in Silver Lake. They just finished up. They want something nice and light and crisp. Let's have, an aperitif, basically, aperitif one. So I order an Assyrtiko from Greece. From Santorini. It's just a nice, light, crisp, beautiful white wine. I'm imagining there's not a lot of people that order Assyrtikos. It might be an insider wine, unless somebody is directed towards that. So the som finally comes over, bumbling. Like, he looks half drunk. He's just, it's Saturday night at 9:30. He's tasted every bottle he's opened. Yeah. And he comes over and shows me the label and says, "This is a very pedestrian Assyrtiko." And I was like, what? I didn't say anything. My friends just looked at me like, oh my God, what is Steve going to say?
And I was going to say, Greer versus the Som. I want to go to a restaurant and just Greer versus Som. Like, that's got to be awesome. That's like Ramsey just showing up in a way. But undercover boss. Oh my God, you're like undercover boss right now.
There were only two Assyrtikos on the menu. There were only two. We were going to belly up for a really nice red for the second bottle. So I just went with the cheaper Assyrtiko. Assyrtiko is pretty much Assyrtiko. We just wanted something nice and light. So I didn't say anything. And as soon as he walked away, my friend just looked at me and said, both of those are on your list. If it's pedestrian, that's your fault.
Yeah.
And So there is wine shaming. I'm a wine professional. I've been selling wine for over 20 years. I'm not going to be guilted and made, I'm not going to allow him to shame me. So I just don't care. It was a very fun Acertico. I enjoyed the wine. We had a great dinner, and the red wine that we had, I think we ordered I don't know, something from Etna maybe, or a Faro. I don't know. It was excellent too. We had a great time. So I didn't feel any shame, but I guarantee a regular consumer like you who is sitting down to this massive list at a very nice restaurant that him and his wife were really excited to get into would have felt like a dick if that guy would have said that to him.
Yeah.
This happened to me at a sushi restaurant here in Austin. That was like, so Austin sushi restaurants are either like, they're either just expensive or they're just kind of like meh. There's not a lot of the wonderful middle ground like the anonymous strip mall in the valley. That's like, oh my god, it's yet again another amazing omakase experience at a place where it's like crappy cars, whatever.
Asanebo, baby.
Right, Asanebo. So we were at this spot and we just had like the jerk, cocky waiter. It's like, how long are you going to be doing this job? Like, you're kind of a dick, whatever. So he literally, like, we ordered a sake, and he goes, you don't want that, order this. And it was clear when we ordered that sake, we were under a certain price limit, straight up. You know what I mean? And was just literally like, no, you want to get this. And it's like, you are a car salesman right now. A used car salesman. You are literally trying to manipulate someone in a very quick way to go, oh yeah, I'm gonna jack up my ticket. And he and also like,
was it like double the price or something, or?
Yeah, I mean, we literally were like, it was almost like we were getting the draft sake. You know what I mean? Which is like, okay, we want this. It's like, I just want a beer. It's like, oh, okay, let me get you a tasting menu. I'm like, what? No, I just want a beer. It was just insane.
Sure.
And we literally hated this restaurant. Every time I see it, I'm like, I hate that place. Because even at he was all around a terrible waiter at an expensive restaurant. And it just goes to show you, like, there's just not a lot of options. Like, at this restaurant, I mean, that's what kind of blows, right? That's the whole thing of like, oh yeah, this place has 3 Michelin stars. Oh yeah, they have a omakase or tasting menu and da da da. You go there and it's like, well, they don't even need me. Like, should I be so happy to be giving you my money that I just almost am like genuinely so disinterested in actually experiencing this stuff, except for the fact of I feel like someone like me should try certain restaurants to have that experience, but I'm not really selective about that because it's built to be a bit of a letdown, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because you can be treated terribly.
So that restaurant, the Acertico restaurant, which it will always be known as the Acertico restaurant, my friends still use the word pedestrian for everything.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, I had a very pedestrian red last night, and I really didn't like it.
It was subtle.
This might be the most sought after restaurant group in LA. So it's not like, a flash in the pan. It's been around for a little while. They have 2 restaurants. It's an important restaurant. It's just a douchey song. And there's a lot of those guys out there.
What is that? Why? I mean, why?
I'd rather go down a different tangent. I'd rather go back to your idea of
subtle.
Do I buy Jado or do I go down a different route? There's too many white wine grapes for you to not go down a different route instead of just picking up, I don't even know some of the Jado labels anymore. Jado Merceau or a Macon from Jado.
Macon, that's the one I remember.
Yeah, Macon or Puy Fusé. That's probably their number one. I used to sell Jado a long time ago. I had Cobrain in my portfolio, and Jado Puy Fusé had to be the number one label, and we sold a ton of it. And it was more manipulated. It was bigger, richer, butter, typical Chardonnay. But just get a Austrian Gruner Veltliner or try an Acertico from Greece. You're going to have a better chance that the wine from those obscure regions is just higher quality because there's not that many imported. So the ones that are imported are really good.
That's genius.
Yeah.
That is probably the most legit. When I thought about this, as like, okay, this is going to be so informative and interesting. Like that is the most pro tip we've gotten to date on Eat This Drink That. Is buy from an obscure region. Chances are, if it's gotten import, it's really good.
Yeah, and it's
dope.
fun. It's a story. It's more interesting. Alto Adige whites, I love. You can go back to Australia because Australia has been the forgotten region of the world after its heyday in the early 2000s. So now a lot of the Australian guys, the more micro winemakers, are making really, really good wines from really cool regions. Awesome. Get a Eden Valley or a Clare Riesling. They're fantastic. They're really good.
Wow.
Nice.
I mean, the wine world's been waiting for a long time for Riesling to take off, and it's just not going to happen. Consumers just aren't gravitating towards Riesling, sadly, because they're really good wines.
They're good when they're good.
Australian Riesling from Eden or Clare, they're exceptional. You go into different regions in New Zealand and get different grapes. Like, oh, wait, hold on.
Once again.
Like we're gonna wrap up the show with Steve's fridge.
He's gonna pull out that song, and he'll be like, "Thank you for watching a very pedestrian podcast."
Well, he pulled out the Somme. The Somme is
okay. Yeah. Here's two. Here's a Riesling from New Zealand from a guy, Pyramid Valley. I think him and his wife own this. They were outside of God, I can't remember the name of the town. They had the Christchurch. They were outside of Christchurch. They were making really beautiful biodynamic wines. I think they sold the winery. But this is a Marlboro Riesling. That's ridiculous. And then here's another just completely obscure wine. It's white. It's a Spanish Rioja white. But this is current vintage. This is 2008.
Wow.
So the antithesis to an episode before, this is 2008. It's sat in barrel. It's Lopez de Heredia, Rioja, Blanco. It's a Reserva. It's unbelievable. It's a little more difficult to get, but it's very good. So remember that I think I went off about orange wine for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This has a little bit of a color. So technically, you're getting into orange characteristics. This wine is extraordinary, and they've been making this for over a century.
So this is going to be an obvious question, but you brought it up because of the bottle. 2008, that's old. Have you been holding on to that?
No, I just got that. That's the current release this year. And in fact, in California, I would never be able to find that on the shelf. I used to be able to buy it when I worked at a retail shop because as soon as it came in, all the staff would buy it and it wouldn't even make it to the sales floor. In Denver, less people are drinking a Reserva Rioja Blanc. I found it. I saw it sitting on the shelf in a store. I was like, "Are you kidding?"
So why is that? Why are white wines a shorter release, or put out? Yeah, they're not as old, right?
Well, I feel like because you don't have to age it. There's no aging required. So if you're making an aromatic white, you're fermenting at low temperatures. You're protecting it from oxidation. It goes through the fermentation. It goes right into bottle. You're not even aging it at all, and then you release it. So. If it's a bright, pretty aromatic white, its current release is going to be basically 8 months after harvest.
So I feel like, when wines are older, they're like, to me, it's like less kind of fruity, obvious flavors, more complexities and stuff like that. Is that true with white wine? Like that 2008, does it just take on other flavors the longer
it takes on other flavors and it becomes more caramel. There's almost like there's a richness to it, to the wine, because it aged longer in bottle. The flavors change, just like in red wine. You go from bright cherry notes to more forest floor and mushroom. For a white wine, it will go to more dried oranges and citrus peel and maybe dried flowers, and everything's a little more desiccated, but there's a viscous quality to the texture. You have to experience it.
You know, I think I've come to an interesting epiphany with this whole thing, because I was like, subtle food sucks, whatever. I think subtlety is hard to achieve, hard to find success in with food. It's not impossible, but it's very hard. It's easy. You know, we're talking about like drink and stuff, like, okay, high alcohol and bourbon, boom, there you go. But I enjoy subtlety in wine, but I think it's because there's a complex process that's being accomplished. Like, you are buying that bottle because they have figured something out, right? Mm-hmm. And you sit on it, and then you go, wow, this comes out, that comes out. Maybe not currant or black licorice or soil or, you know, whatever the wine words are that we talked about before. But there is something that's like, yo, this ain't a grape no more. Something happened. Significant. And I think to come full circle with that soup, it's like, you know, it's not so much, I think, you know, if you have a subtle food, what is it that is going to make something worth just noticing? You know, like, you can't, like, there's an easy fail rate of like bland. It's called bland. Oh, subtle is just a polite way of going, yes, it's kind of bland. There has to be something. I literally want to go heat up this soup and try and figure it out.
Yes.
But,
Well, I'll end on one note of subtlety. Sea bream sushi has become one of my favorites, and it's almost like a whisper just went across your palate, and then it's gone. But I absolutely love it. Sugarfish has been using sea bream a lot lately. I don't know why. Maybe there's just more sea bream. But it's delicious, and it is a whisper.
Yeah. You know, I will say sushi's a good way to describe subtle flavor, but still good. Because even like something like halibut, what sets off halibut in sushi is the shiso meat. It really, I mean, and it's not a magic wand, but usually, like, I'm like, you know, I do appreciate it within a kind of context, right?
I just got a habanero yellowtail that is
amazing,
unbelievable, and I never would have thought to do that to yellowtail. Like, why are you going to punish it with habanero? But I get it every time I go to the restaurant now.
Crosby sea bream. Sea bream is one of those, look, let's be honest, those white fishes at the sushi restaurant that are kind of like, okay, you know, like, okay to meh. But sea bream's definitely, to me, higher up on actual flavor. You know what I mean? Like, of the whites, yellowtail kind of peaks, yellowtail albacore kind of tied for that top, but sea bream's definitely, and I mean, mackerel's a whole other, the oily fishes are a whole other category, but those kind of whatever white fishes, like
mackerel's my favorite.
I was just looking it up. I'm getting a grip of it, but let's look to wrap this up. This episode 4.
Awesome.
It's been a good one. Yeah.
That was great. Go get some Gruner Veltliner and a Sertico.
I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, what was the restaurant? Was it part of Spaga?
Yes. We're still recording.
Okay, so let's sign off for episode 4 with Ali, Steve, and Ryan. Eat this, drink that, ETDT. Thanks. Okay, what restaurant?
That was a good end.
Who was it?